Bonjour à tous, bienvenue dans un nouvel épisode de Robert Spotlight.
Robert Spotlight, Robert Spotlight, Robert Spotlight, Robert Spotlight, Robert Spotlight.
NFT Factory, c'est un projet beaucoup plus large qui ne se résume pas à l'art.
2 ans que je travaille sur la question de la représentation des artistes femmes.
J'ai travaillé avec des artistes sur la curation, sur le French Touch.
Je suis la cofondatrice de Bauhaus et la NFT Factory.
Je suis un artiste / hacker dans le monde des NFT.
Bienvenue dans le show.
Hello everyone, welcome in a new episode of Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight, Fabin, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Robo. Thank you for having me here. It's wonderful to be here. Let's see how this journey goes.
Yes, perfect. So, first of all, could you introduce yourself to people that don't know you?
All right. So I am an artist, designer, innovator, technologist, working kind of at the intersection of creativity and technology. I kind of juggle between a lot of creative means of making things with technology like artificial intelligence, generative art, voice, all kinds of AR, VR, all kinds of technology that is available. And it's been some time that I've also been an NFT artist. I also delve into deeper thoughts and meanings and philosophies, bordering even on spirituality. So that's mostly what my intro would be, is what I would say.
Okay, so it's a kind of a long intro. So I kind of dig on what you are doing. You have a lot of reference on articles. You have kind of a busy work life, So could you tell to people since when you start your artistic journey?
My artistic journey, I think it spans a long time. Actually, I mean, it started from early childhood itself. We delve into a bit of doodling and drawing and those kind of things, and that developed into something. But I would say comprehensively, it's been about maybe 15 years or something that I've been creating digital art as such. Probably started early on with drawing in digital medium, and then Flash. And a bit of 3D. Yeah, so I think I would say around 15 years, and evolved into a lot of things that you can see right now.
Okay, perfect. And so it's since 15 years. What drive you to be an artist? Did someone on your family was an artist? Did someone externally was like an inspiration for you? What drive you to become an artist?
I think I always loved to draw things. I think that is where largely it started. It also comes a lot from my mother, who is a creative herself. She used to create all these handicraft works and everything. And I think the creative spark was there always in the family. My dad being an engineer architect, so it always was there in the family. Just that I never knew that was the area that I want to pursue. So I went into the more left-brained things like engineering and things, but finally ended up being an artist after all.
Cool. So could you tell us when you discover the NFT world?
I think it was just before, a bit before COVID, actually. In 2019, I took a break from my corporate life, and I was, delving into all kind of AI art and generative art. And I was in a Slack group where a bunch of people were discussing generative art as such. And that is where I met one of my longtime friends after that, Zaim Al-Yad. Dame introduced me to the world of NFTs by the end of 2019, and I was a bit skeptical initially, but it seemed like a right fit for me as a digital artist. And I think I made my first mint on February 2020, and then it's been a journey ever since then.
Okay, so February 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So it was a kind of COVID mode. So maybe you had more time to think or to to explore things. And you said something. You said that at first it was weird, or it was when your friend introduced you to NFT. You said that at first you were skeptical.
Yeah.
Could you
Yeah.
explain why?
So one thing is that I wasn't very much familiar with the world of crypto currencies and blockchain at that time. Although I loved technology, I wanted to explore blockchain for the longest time, working in companies like Adobe and Xerox. So I've always wanted to explore this area, but I never had delved into it. Cryptocurrencies was coming from the place I am. Cryptocurrencies was something not everyone really was interested in, and also there was some kind of a negative reactions when we say cryptocurrencies back in the place where I am from, even now for that matter. So I was a little skeptical that you could sell a digital art. You can just copy it. Why? How can you sell it? So this largely was the question, but there were amazing peoples in the initial crypto art days who helped me through it. Anne Marie and Indrani and a lot of these folks helped me get through the onboarding process and get into it, and it had been smoother than to onboard into the space. Yeah.
Yes, I believe that I was writing down your quote to be sure to don't forget it. When you say it was you were skeptical because we cannot copy a digital file, and basically that made me smile because I think that a lot of people make this false assumption, and the reason why is because they are thinking that the blockchain is working as internet.
Oh yeah. People come from the Web 2 world, right? And this whole Web 3 world of everyone can see it and only one person can own it. That kind of a philosophy, it's something new to people. Yesterday, also, I was talking to one of the senior artists from my place, and she didn't really understand this whole concept, and I was trying to explain to her how it is that it's an art is an open movement, and people want it to be open, people want it to reach everywhere, and yet ownership could help add value to the artwork. So I see the beauty there that way, and I see how NFTs was powerful as such a medium. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. What do you think about collaboration? It's that something that you are used to do?
Oh yeah, I love collaborations. I've done some amazing collaborations with some of my good friends in the space. I think to give you an example of it, I did a collaboration last year with my good friend George Boya. George Boya is an artist from Greece, and he is an amazing collage artist. So we had this discussion over call about how he wanted to replicate or get inspired from a kind of machinery that he saw about faces and everything, and we had a conversation on that, and that translated into a work called Formless, which was a 3D sculpture we made collaboratively, and this was exhibited at a bunch of different places. And I always loved how easy it is to collaborate all around the world through this space. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Before talking about the project that you want to talk about, can you explain us how you have been selected on art blocks?
Sorry, do you want? Could you repeat that question again?
Yes, it's. Could you talk about your journey with art blocks?
Oh, all right. So, I think a little bit of background is important here because I started, as I said, I started in the NFT world in February 2020, and that is when I realized that NFTs are not just for images or video; it has the potential to go beyond it. And I started creating HTML-based web web-based websites or web pages, which are live generative artworks, and I wanted to mint them. Although none of the platforms supported this at that time, I went around talking to a bunch of folks. This was early 2020. I talked to Maker's Place. I talked to Async Art. I talked to a bunch of these folks, and everybody was innovating at that time, but they really couldn't see this happening. But one of the initial things which happened was Async Art said that, hey, let's try this out. Let's try if we can mint an HTML page as such, and that is where I got the first opening into generative art. And after that, I've been looking at platforms native for generative art. I think it was by the last half of 2020 that Artblock started, and I was one of the initial beta testers in Artblocks. I wouldn't say a beta tester, but I was. I worked with Snowfro, and I tried to put one of my works as a beta in Artblocks. The fun thing was that I removed it, and I said, hey Snowfro, I want to try this out somewhere else. Had I kept it there, it would have been one of the first curated collections. But fast forward from there, Artblocks kicked up very fast, and I thought this is a wonderful platform to be exhibiting generative art, and it is still one of the best platforms for that. So I was really well in contact with the folks at Artblocks, and I did a drop with them called Petrie, and that was in 2021, and that's largely how I got into Artblocks.
Okay, perfect. And could you talk a little bit about the curation process? Because the understanding, it's like to be featured on Artblocks, you have to go through a curation process. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So curation was easier to begin with because it was a Wild West kind of an approach in the beginning, but Artblocks formalized the curation process. They brought in a curation board and wanted high quality works, pushing technological innovation to be brought into the space. I think Petrie was not a curated drop. It was a factory drop. It was pitched. So what happens as in Artblocks is, you create a work, you pitch it for being selected as a curated work. The board reviews it. If they accept it, it will go forward as a curated drop, and or else it will be a factory drop. So they never said no to any kind of work. It always, sorry, was it factory? Yeah, it was they never said no to any kind of works. It always ended up either in factory, curated, or playground. So that way they embrace the whole artist ecosystem, which I really loved about them. Although I had trouble, seeing how some works could be curated, which is totally different from the kind of expectations we have. So, for example, this work in the background called Alapura was one of my favorite works, one of my works which I worked out of my heart, which I pitched with the Artblocks team. Somehow, this couldn't make it into the curated drops, so I had to it was initially supposed to be a multiple generative drop, but I made it into a one-on-one artwork and released it in my own contract. So there are positives and negatives of curation, obviously, but this is largely the process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for this long explanation. So in your point of view, this work that is on your background was not selected because it was a one-on-one?
No, actually. So I think one of the criteria that Artblocks specifically looks for is variety in the maximum variation in the number of editions we have. Say if you have 100 or 1,000 of them, each of them should be enough varied. Okay. Although I did my best to create the variations, the curation board did not find that. And so that is when they said, we can have it as a factory drop rather than a curated drop. But then I felt it won't do justice to the artwork, which I spent a month working on closely. So I took it out as a one-on-one work, combining all the variations into one single piece. So this piece actually changes with location, time of the day, seasons, weather, and more things. So I combined it into a one-on-one piece, and I kept it outside. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We are going to talk about Ala Puza just after. I want to stay a little bit longer on Petri.
Sure.
Could you talk about the code, the way that you have created the code, the way of your creative process working with the Petri collection?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Perlin noise. So Perlin noise I would say it's an algorithm which could help create more smoother motions and smoother forms and better formations. So I've been using that in many of my generative arts for a long time, and I've used it for voice interaction. I used it for heartbeat based interactions. I've used it for a bunch of things, but I really love the motion which it brings out. And I wanted, at that time, I had this penchant towards microscopic visuals, which is like, you look through a microscope and you see things. And it really sounded like, what if an organism evolves in a petri dish? That is largely the thought that I had. And what if this organism evolves in a more semi-organic Berlin noise-based motion? And that is where the whole concept of Petri came in. And I worked with a bunch of code, and I tried out a bunch of iterations and found a very good niche with that I liked, and I brought it to Art Blocks then.
Okay. Did that was the first time that you attempt this kind of universe? Like when you look into a microscope, did that was the first attempt with Petri, or did that was something that you already have on your mind before?
No, specifically for the microscopic organisms, I did another project called Nano Organics. I don't remember if it was before Petri or after Petri, but that was using AI-based generated images to create motion using a bunch of video editing tools into an organic microscopic form. I don't remember if it was before Petri. So yeah, that was also there. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And what was the reaction of the public? The collector at the time of the mint, and also the current state of collector with Petri.
So Petri didn't have many editions. So initially, it was when it was released in factory, nobody really noticed it. Although it's kind of a semi-infinite motion, it just keeps going on and on and on. It's not just a static image; it was moving and all those things. And not many moving works were there at that time in Art Blocks. So it just remained there. But I think it was in the CryptoPunks Discord that someone discussed Petri, and there was suddenly a large interest in it, and overnight it sold out completely. Although it had a slightly higher price point as compared to the works at that time, and the editions were lesser, but suddenly it sold out, and there were a lot of conversations around it. And what I did was, that was the first time I had such a large number of collectors collecting my work. So I really wanted to respect them and give them more value to what they've collected. And I actually did another drop, a 3D interactive work for which Petri holders could get a free mint for those things, and subsequent works which would add value to this work. So yeah, that was amazing to see. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And are you still in contact with your collector today?
Oh yeah. I do contact some of the collect. Although I am not really active in Discord anymore because a lot of personal reasons, but I do talk to some of my good collectors from P3 from art blogs, and also other collectors also. Yes,
Okay,
I do.
perfect. On the Petri collection, which edition or token number or artwork result is your the one that you prefer? If you have to name one,
I think
out of the 200 edition.
Yeah, I think the very first one would be, I mean, I would be biased if I say, because I love all of them, I would say, it's just that Zen feeling you have when you're meditating with this motion. That is what is really important for me. And it's not about, just seeing a visual. I really like to observe it and, be with this artwork as it moves around. And that's why a lot of folks ask me, why don't you increase the speed of it? Well, let it move very faster. That wasn't the result I wanted. I wanted the result where, I could just be with the artwork and, just keep looking at it. So I think, to answer your question, probably I love all of them equally is what I would say. And that is one of the main reasons why I didn't even add any kind of rarities to it. P3 is one work which doesn't have any rarities to it. So yeah, I think all of it, I would say.
Okay, all of it. So there is no preference. It's like you will have the same joy looking to one edition to another.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To one iterations and another. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, perfect. Did you on the community side, did you receive some feedback regarding except the make it moving faster? Did you receive other feedback that make you think, oh, maybe that would be a good idea, or maybe that was a weird idea? Could you?
Oh yeah,
talk about that?
definitely. So here's the thing. So P3 was really a very a very early experiment. It's not like there was a lot of so what happened was, what I'm trying to say is, I got a bunch of feedback that the Perlin noise which I've used, the noise movement which I've used, could be more sophisticated. There is multiple different angles that I could use, which could give a more different kind of motion, which will reflect it. And that also meant that I could add rarities to it. I mean, I also got the feedback that I could add rarities to it based on different kind of motions. And a lot of feedbacks like this kept coming. Although I was just amazed to see how people could find the motion attractive rather than it's just a generative piece. They were talking about the motion. Some of them ran it for many hours on their screen, took a screenshot and shared it. Though that was amazing to see. So yeah, I think they were both positive and both constructive and critical feedback for that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Let's talk about Ala Puja. Did I say it right?
It's Ala Puja. It's a bit hard to pronounce, but so I'm it's
Okay.
all good. It's all
Ala
good.
Puja. Okay. And so same question. Could you talk about the creative process that you have used to come up with this project?
Yeah. So I think this project released in last October, but around July of 2021, I was exploring the heart region a lot more incessantly, from how people, the passion, the feelings from the heart, the emotions and everything. And I was really interested in how I could talk about my hometown. My hometown is Alapura. It's a town in the southernmost end of India, and this town has a beautiful set of backwaters, a lot of beaches, and amazing historical monuments and fields and whatnot. The kind of healing that I had being in this particular place, I wanted to reflect that into an artwork. And that is largely, as I would say, it came from the heart rather than the head. It was largely an expression of how I felt towards this place. Yeah, I mean, I've always tried to push things technologically as an innovation wise also, and also in its artistic concept as much as possible. And so I brought in Perlin noise and all my learnings from the previous projects. I added a bunch of flavor to it, like location based differentiation, weather based changing, season, time of the day. All these makes it into a very dynamic, living, breathing artwork, which changes. If you are in one place, it is a different artwork. If you're in another place, it is a different artwork. It is moving, and it has these small, minute elements which changes, which you might not even notice, but these things are there. A lot of hidden elements. I also made it accessible so that people who have lower vision can appreciate it in some form. A lot of things went into it, and I think that was largely one of my best works till date, is what I would say. It's also the most work which came out of the heart. So yeah, I think that's that's what I would say about it.
Okay, perfect. So we sense the feeling about it, and you make share that feeling very well.
Yeah.
Did I get it right? This artwork, basically, this token, this NFT, is going to evolve based on the physical location that you will have on the city, right?
Yeah. So essentially, there are five towns, or let's say five places I've selected in the city of Alapura, where based on where you are, the image or the visual changes based on the GPS location, of course. So if you're at the beach, it will show the beach in the digital artwork. If you're near the lighthouse will show up. If you're at one of the street markets, it will show the street markets. It also changes color palettes and elements with day, night, and all those things. It also has different motions and those things based on the day. And so you can see these are the five different places: beach, lighthouse, Mulakal, lake, fields. And it also has different color palettes based on the time of the day you're looking at it from. Yeah, these are the color palettes. And I had a great fun selecting these color palettes, going through the various amount of iterations, and finally finding the one which suited it. At times you can see a houseboat going across the lake in the horizon once in a while. There is a crane or a stork flying, or some birds flying in the air, those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay. And did everything is generated by the code?
Absolutely. There are no SVGs used, no drawing softwares used. Everything was coded with code only. Everything was written line by line of code. I don't remember the exact size, but the only library I used was P5.js. And with P5, with P5.js, this was just a JavaScript code base. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Again, no images, nothing. Yeah.
Yes, so it's pretty amazing, and so to someone to really experience it, he have to be at the location.
Yeah, I mean, so here is where I depart from the natural NFT rules. So NFTs, when you make NFT digital art, it means that you can view it from anywhere you want through a thing. But so I was of the concept, like, what if an NFT is actually tied to a location? If you will go to that place, and how would that change the whole reaction? I did a project before this called Pilgrimage, which actually was the starting point for all this. So that is largely where I wanted to see if people could actually come to this place, which is a very touristy place, and when they are going through their visit of the place, they could enjoy the artwork which represent each of the different places in Alapura. So yeah, that's largely why I did that.
Yes, it's pretty as you said, it's not it's as the opposite of the kind of the what the community of Web3 accept. It's like that should be
Yeah.
whenever we are, we should experience it. But you took a different approach, and I find it interesting because basically this approach can interest like travel tour. That can be something that is useful for a travel tour. So I do believe that this piece, that you are presenting very well. I do believe that can be you can do basically like a collab or something like this, or even think about it's the first piece, so that it's the genesis, the blockchain, it's here to prove it, but you can start to reach out to travel tour and to talk about this concept.
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the things I had in mind was, if this project was, very much taken into account by some of these organizations who could give me a commission project on what if I could do this for, say, Paris with the Eiffel Tower and different other locations, and people are going to Paris to view the Eiffel Tower. So what if they could, go to this particular location and see something there? And it's essentially a living artwork which changes where you are, what kind of conditions you are in, and every external data is coming into this work, and the work changes based on that. I really thought I could do this for other things, but the person that I am, I always try to push into newer territories. So I was okay, this is well and good. Let's sit. Yeah, unless there is a commission projects, I'm not going into it. I started exploring some other facets of technology and art at that time. So yeah.
Okay, and could you talk a little bit about how you integrate the external information? So, I mean, you should be linked to some kind of oracle, to gather weather, this kind of information. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, there are for the weather, there is an API call which is done to an openly available API for weather, and for time and seasons, I use the system time, essentially calibrated to with the time zone. I would calibrate it to the location of Alapura. So essentially it changes based on that. For the location as such, I take the GPS data of the device and I use it. So if your GPS is, say, blocked in the device, nothing really happens if you go to, even if you are in Alapura. So in Pilgrimage, the other project based on location, I had a bunch of problems like that. But you'll have to restart the phone, you'll have to turn on device location. So these kind of factors are there in these kind of works. But yeah, that's largely largely how I fetch data. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so all your code is pushed on the blockchain, where your code is stored.
This is largely IPFS. This is not an on-chain artwork. Okay. This is largely IPFS. I think this is IPFS.
Did there is a size issue if you choose? Why did you choose IPFS?
So I am not really a big fan of on-chain works. Why? Because of the adoption, of the size of adoption of IPFS and probably even Arweave. This will be a solution which will be widely adopted, and on-chain is really wasteful that way. You'll have to restrict sizes, huge gas fees and everything. On the other hand, I mean, blockchain is essentially, these kind of blockchains are not essentially meant for storage. So I would really want storage to be a different solution of its own, and also thinking of the fact that people like Club NFT is bringing backup for NFTs, and you can pin the IPFS from any location. Even if it is brought down, you just have to keep a backup and upload it again. So it really made sense for me to keep it in these things, even if I'm looking at eternity, the future also. Yeah.
Okay. Me, on my side, what I will say as a kind of a collector side, I will say that for me, why I looking that much on generative art right now is because my assumption is generative art. It's a more native for the blockchain. That means that the ability to be able to put the code on chain and to have it as is, make it native. That means that, as you know, when there is a longer form generative art, you will always be able to regenerate the artwork because it's going to be the same seed used to as the input on the code. So my view is when a generative art is done, having the code put on chain, I see it as a good thing because I view it as it's the more native. It's like the only issue that can appear. It's like the blockchain disappear at all. When you integrate external other thing as IPFS or other thing, I'm not against IPFS. I'm just saying that with the generative art perspective, I view it as on-chain. It's the more native way to start the code, when there is no spec issue. Because I know that there is a time kind of byte constraint.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I really respect that opinion also. The only thing I would add to that is, I love constraints, but the problem really with keeping things on chain is that you really can't create larger generative art, which requires a lot of code and a lot of things involved in it. It's hugely restricting that it has to be a limited size code base, so you don't really see full-scale games or full-scale interactive experiences, maybe even virtual worlds, those kind of things coming into generative art in its state right now. Because if you're looking at it, putting it into on chain, it'll be because of size constraints, it's restricting.
I get it.
Yeah. So that's, for Alapura specifically, it had a bit more file size than what is usually used in art blocks. So I had to, think of, what is the best way. Although I did try to mint it in art blocks testnet, and it worked out well. It had rarities and everything. But, eventually I thought, one-on-one is the best way. I should keep it in IPFS or RV. I think different opinions, but I really respect your opinion also.
Yes, it's not a how, it's an and. It's just saying that this option exists, and pro and cons. We didn't do that really, but it's just saying you give the explanation. I give my view, but there is not that is the view to have, or it's what you have done.
Yes.
The thing to do. It's
perfect.
Everything.
And that's the beauty of it. And that's the beauty of it. This world we have, we have these opinions evolving the whole community together. We have different viewpoints, which is making this community being structured into a different way altogether. Yeah.
Yes. What do you think about Airwave?
So I'm not as familiar with Airwave as probably IPFS. I think I know it as a storage solution. It's blockchain by itself. It's something I've used through, say, Manifold or some of the other works I've done with the help of some amazing smart contract developers, friends of mine. But to be honest, I feel it is a very good solution. If it is a blockchain and it has such storage capacity, I think it is a good solution. I wouldn't want to claim myself as an expert in RV and give you opinions on it. This is where probably I would stop myself. I have more experience with IPFS that way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think these kind of storage options should be explored more. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. It's yes, I'm fine, because basically the things that I'm looking to, it's your experience. I'm not looking after like belief. It's really
Perfect.
I don't find the good word, but I more into what are your experience with ABC than what are your thoughts about ABC. So I'm fine with your reply. Let's talk about regalia.
All right, yeah, let's do.
So what can you share with it? I'm going to share my screen.
All right. So regalia. I don't want to claim it, but I think I'm not saying it is, but I think
Okay.
it is the first HTML based work, HTML based NFT, live interactive NFT out there. So what really happened was, I was trying to find out a good platform to mint HTML-based work in early 2020, and I wanted it to be interactive. I wanted a lot of things like maybe even camera-based interactions. I'm an interaction designer. I used to work with a lot of interactive tools like Kinect and Leap Motion and all those things. So I was wondering, why not bring all these capabilities into NFTs? People could interact with voice, they could, with gestures, with face recognition, those kind of things. I was thinking loud at that time, and NFTs was a perfect fit for all these things. But the best way into it was, can I put a live HTML web page and it shows up as an iframe? Can I put this HTML page into IPFS and it shows as an iframe? I mean, just like a live display, direct link to the HTML page. I did talk to a bunch of folks. Again, Maker's Place. I started in Maker's Place. I talked to folks at Rarible, I think Non-Origin, etc. And I was very much in conversation with the folks at Async. Async had already started making these layer changing kind of interactive these works, and they had some of the best founders. They were very supportive, and I bounced this idea with them that what if we could have an interactive work which changes with which can be interacted with by not just me but the audience also and the collectors also. So it's like all three sections of the artwork is coming together into this work. They were very much excited with this idea, and essentially regalia is if you click on that link in the second paragraph.
This one.
Yeah, might take a bit of time to load. So essentially regalia is a mandala drawing tool. You can draw on that black area just like that. Yeah, okay. just all right. So at that time in 2000, nobody really was making these kind of interactive works. So you can see this has a bunch of elements like color palettes and settings and all those things. These can be changed by the collectors of the layers of the work. So Async has master and layers. So the layers, you can change the color palette, the brush size, the settings. Each layer is owned by a collector. And I created sorry?
How many layers and
I think it was 4 or 5 layers and one master. And this could be drawn on by the audience. They could create the artwork with me, share it in. So if you go to community creations, the link at the bottom, you can, sorry, I'm not sure why it's not showing. Can you try again?
No, it's on Twitter. It's
it's on Twitter. It's on Twitter. It's on Twitter actually. Yeah, there you go. So you can see all the amazing, if you just scroll down, you can see all the amazing community collections, community creations which happened at that time. The whole community was coming together to create it and share it. And the collectors went, like, oh, this is really cool. I can influence the creation. You can see different color palettes. The center insignia is an AI art, which I created using some of the AI models at that time. So I think this was one of my biggest sales at that time. I don't really remember the exact number. Was it 23 ETH or 20 ETH or 17 ETH? I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was collected by a group called Metavarium, and it was quite a start for my generative art journey at that time.
Okay, and so the master have which option? He can choose the color of the main color. What is the difference between the master holder and the layer holder?
All right. So the master holder will get, so the master artwork has not just the interactive artwork, it has a code base and related files and everything to it. It is the, according to the async concept, master is the main artwork. Layers are the things which will control the artwork. So layers, it's like, segregating the collection into multiple people. So 4 or 5 layers were created, which would be collected by people. And the layers can be used to control the settings like color palette, brush size, brush, I think a bunch of other things. So the master would be holding the original work, and that will be the most valuable work, while the layers could be used to control these things. So yeah, that was kind of a different approach than what async used to do at that time. And again, at that time everybody was trying to push boundaries, and this is one of my venture into doing that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so when you said that you think that it was the first HTML based work, basically it's there is a code that you put on IPFS, and this code is HTML based work.
Yeah, so I'll clarify on that. So at that time, what I wanted was the HTML file, which was in IPFS, to run directly as such. But at that time, I am learning about smart contracts for the first time. I'm learning about IPFS. I had no idea what I'm doing. Conlan from Async Art was helping me with, this is how it is, what is a smart contract. It was amazing at that time. So what I did was, I wanted to create a very fast interactive experience. So I had a GitHub page running. I also, what I did is I made a zip file of the whole code base, and I put it in IPFS, and Conlan made sure that IPFS link was reflected in the metadata of the async artwork of the master artwork, and also added the GitHub link as a backup, just in case the file is lost or something like that. I mean, if file won't be lost, what I'm saying is, if it goes down or something, there is a backup. So I just added a GitHub link also to it. So it is 2 layers that way. So yeah, so it was IPFS and GitHub.
Okay.
And I know GitHub is centralized, but at that time, I thought this was one reliable backup that I could give. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Could you talk about what is your work in progress? Where your mind is right now? What is the current state of Fabin?
So I think I would probably talk about 2 works. Yesterday, I dropped a work called The Lost Wallet. So the Lost Wallet is essentially a wallet. The seed phrase of this wallet is put into the metadata of the NFT inside the wallet. It's as simple as that. And I put $100 worth of money into the wallet. I also put a bunch of my NFTs into it. And I told everyone, like, hey, this wallet is on the floor. It's just lying on the floor with a bunch of money and cool images. What would you do with it? Anybody could just go to the metadata, take the seed phrase, and steal the money, or do whatever they want with it. But I was curious to see how the psychology of people would work when they see such a thing in the Web3 world. And interesting as it may seem, I thought, like, people, why would they even wait for it? They would just take the money with an unknown blockchain address, and they'll take it all away. But a lot of people opened the wallet and just left it like that. A lot of people, a person actually sent a 0 ETH transaction from the wallet to say that, hey, I opened the wallet, but I'm not taking anything. Another person, one of my good friends, actually sent 10 Mocha tokens to the wallet. Rather than taking something from the wallet, he actually sent to the wallet. And finally, Museum of Crypto Art, what they did is they opened the wallet, they sent all the money back to me, and they took that one NFT into their permanent collection. And I was like, wow, I just got into Museum of Crypto Art's permanent collection just like that with this artwork. I mean, I was in their Genesis collection, but this was this was such a cool move. So I got essentially no one stole the money. It was all returned to me, and now still the wallet is open and people are trying to experiment what could be done with it. Yeah.
When did you launch the Lost Wallet?
Yesterday evening, actually.
Yesterday. Okay. So basically,
Yeah.
you had a kind of a 1 day worth of feedback.
Yeah, just 1 day so far. So I've been creating a bunch of works where I'm giving out NFTs for free, but the thing is there is a huge story associated with it. So one work was minted in Rinkeby and sold in Rinkeby testnet. Another work was sold for story as a currency than money as a currency. So based on the story, I was giving the artwork to a person, and there was another work where I was giving the money to collect the work. I offered up to 5 ETH to collect my work, and as time goes, that 5 ETH will keep on reducing. So it was a bunch of these experiments, especially during the bear market time. I did a bunch of these experiments, and I think this was the latest one. Although I have a parallel project called Numerverse, which is I have these short-term projects and I have a longer 1 year project which I've been doing. So Numerverse is essentially has got a bunch to do with the hypnagogic states, where I go into a state between waking and sleeping, and I fetch an image from there, and I prompt that image into an AI model like DALL-E or Midjourney and generate the image. So these are essentially images coming out of my subconscious directly. And I've been experimenting with a bunch of things, larger like a research projects into my own subconscious to see, if I give my subconscious a particular query, like, hey, show me an image of a tree, what would it show? And then I could translate it with an AI model. So I've created a bunch of these images, and if you scroll down, you can see those images also. And I've been exploring this particular project. And also, one last thing I need to mention about this is I've been trying to have connections of these images with real life. So if a particular image has a connection, like associated with a building or associated with something else, I'm trying to write that also down. So this image has a connection to some of these buildings which I visited. So those kind of things I've been documenting and seeing where it goes.
Okay. And did the artwork are created by code as well?
For Numerverse?
Yes, for Numerverse.
Numerverse is no code, actually. It's just querying an AI model, just DALL-E or Midjourney, simple querying, getting the image. So code is one part I've parked for now. Right now, I am exploring the mind. So I need a better, easier, faster feedback right now. So it made sense for me to create AI images and see, reflect, see, reflect, see, reflect. So yeah, that's largely why I've been using it.
Okay, perfect. So it's a more AI project, Numerverse.
AI
not only, but
mind. Yeah, I would say it's more mind than the AI, because I don't really worry about what tool is being used. I could create with code, I could create with 3D, I could create with anything, but I'm really interested in how the image is formed in the third eye, in the mind's eye, how it is formed in the mind's eye, and how is that visualization translated into a digital image. So that's largely what I'm exploring.
Okay, perfect. It's perfectly clear. So we have 6 minutes left. So I have a question that I wanted to ask you. I saw on your Twitter account, at some point you were, I believe it's a pack that we tweet, one of your tweets, where basically there is on one side you were painting, and on the other side, it's like one AI was like expanding the painting that was done in real life. Could you talk about this experiment, but at least this story?
Oh yeah. So again, in 2019, before I even entered into NFT space, I was doing a project called AI Brushes. AI Brushes actually started with an exploration into digital brushes during my time with Adobe. And I moved out of Adobe in 2019, and I started working with creating digital brushes using artificial intelligence and exploring it. It was a year-long project. I had a lot of documentation on it. One of the experiments that I did was using NVIDIA's Gauguin model, which essentially translated patch-based, imagery into realistic imagery. What I wanted to see was, can I do this by live painting and translating that into this? Although it wasn't live real time as such, but it essentially meant I am using traditional tools to create a realistic. So I'm starting with creating an image in my mind. I'm translating that into patch painting, which is translated into a realistic artwork in a in a digital augmented solution, in a non-real in an augmented reality solution. So what I was thinking was, this connection between the traditional and the digital world. That is what I was trying to showcase through that particular video. Interesting thing was, when I released it, it was one of my most popular videos till date. It had more than 100,000 views, and a lot of debate between how AI is about the future, about future of creativity, how AI might even take out jobs, and a lot of points from different angles about how creativity is evolving right now. It was interesting to see and partake in those discussions. I think it was a few years later that Park discovered this work, and he said, "Oh, this is wonderful," and he shared it, and again it went up a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been a great supporter of my work. I really appreciate that from him. He's a good friend. Yeah, he, she, it, they, whichever.
Okay, perfect. So yes, what is your so you talk about Numaverse, but what do you have on the radar? What is the things that you see on the NFT market that you want to explore more, or what are the things that you don't see enough on the NFT market?
I would come back to the point which we discussed a little bit before, that generative art right now is very much focused on creating a pattern or a simplistic. I wouldn't call it simplistic. That's such a bad word to use, but a visual, for that matter, based on a bunch of code. But there is so much possibilities with interaction, interactivity, deeper meanings, and a lot of hardware even that could come in, which a lot of people have explored outside of NFTs. You look at Ars Electronica and you look at all these works. There are a lot of things, but that hasn't really come into NFTs. That change, that is going to be a huge revolution when it comes. I'm not saying there are no works at all. There are beautiful works by some of the great artists right now in NFTs who has been doing it, but it's very less, I would say. There is no full scale virtual experiences or interactive experiences, or even games for that matter, interactive games, or something where you could go experience it and play with others, those kind of things, collaborative live collaboration, a lot of possibilities with code. So yeah, I think we're just still scratching the surface there. A lot more to go there in that direction.
Okay, perfect. So in short, it's like you want to see more interactivity works. Interactive works.
Yeah. One last thing I would like to mention is I would want to see people exploring the mind a lot more, the mind and the heart, and the emotions and the thoughts and the deeper states of the mind. I would really love to see people exploring and having conversation. More importantly, having conversations about in this area. So yeah, just wanted to add that also.
Perfect. So it was a wonderful discussion with you. It was great to have your perspective, to understand how you come up with your art, what was your journey, your creative process, everything. It was a very enjoyable conversation. Question: do you have? Could you say to me what is an NFT for you?
An NFT for me is a way to express myself, which I never knew existed until probably a few years back. I've been creating digital art for the longest time. I never knew I could express this to the world. NFTs came in and I could talk to the world through it. So yeah, it has been great for me that way.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Fabin. It was a great talk. Thank you for that, and we stay in touch on social.
Robert, thank you so much for inviting me over. I realize that you're a collector. We should be in touch, have conversations more about what we discussed on chain and everything. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.